Alright YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we'll be talking about the guide to the ninjas. Now I have seen a lot of deck profiles out there in YouTube, but most of them are not really like guides on how to make a ninja deck. So hopefully this would be somewhat more informative for the community with regards to Master Duel on the ninja deck. We're gonna separate this one on three parts. One would be on monsters and extra deck monsters. Second would be spell and traps. And lastly would be tech cards that you can use for the deck. So our first card we'll have here is Tobari the Sky Ninja. Has a really good effects as well. So you basically need to run 3 copies of this. So if this card is spell summon or flip face up, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effect during that turn. Second effect, if you have a really good ninja card on hand, like for example a copy of YugiOh, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and basically summon one ninja monster from your hand to the field. And lastly, and I think this is the most important effect for Tobari, during your opponent's main or battle phase, you can fusion summon one ninja monster as long as it meets the material for its fusion summon. You only have 2 good targets for this in your extra deck, but we'll talk about them in a bit. Anyways, let's go towards our second card. So second card we'll have Mitsu the Insect Ninja. So this card has 2 effects. First effect is if you control a ninja card or a face-down defense fusion monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. Secondary effect, if your opponent activates a monster effect and you have a face-down monster on your side of the field with Mitsu face up, you can flip your face-down card face up and Mitsu face down to negate the activation of that monster. So a really good disruption as well if ever you summon Mitsu to the field during your opponent's turn. You can summon Mitsu and a copy of Tobari during your opponent's turn with the help of duplication, and that would actually have a lot of good interactions that would benefit you a lot. So that is Mitsu, of course. The number of copies that people are using for Mitsu is typically 2 or 3 copies. Preferably go for 3 copies for this, since this has an effect of spell summoning to the field. So that is another body that you can go for a link summon or a rank 2. So that is Mitsu for you guys. Let's go towards our next card. So for our next card, we have YugiOh the Gravity Ninja. Now I've talked about YugiOh in a bit with regards to the Tobari summon. So if you send Tobari to the graveyard and spell summon YugiOh to the field, if you have YugiOh on hand, so it will trigger the effect. So this card has 2 effects. If this card is normal, spell summon, or even flip face up, you can target up to 2 face up monsters on your opponent's side and flip them face down. So this is typically 2 Book of Moons during that trigger. Second of all, if there is a monster flip face up, usually with the help of the Mitsu on the field, flipping 1 face-down card face up, it will trigger the secondary effect of YugiOh, thus popping 1 card on your opponent's side of the field. So with regards to the number of copies for YugiOh, people are using 1 to 2 copies for this, but I do prefer going with 2 copies because this is a really good card to run 2 copies of, and it's easy enough to summon. With the correct ratios, I think going for 2 is just the right spot. So that's YugiOh for you guys. Let's move towards our next monster. So our next monster we have Kagero the Cannon Ninja. So this monster, once normal or spell summon or typically flip face up. So you can spell summon 1 other ninja monster from your hand or graveyard to the field face down. Another good effect for Kagero is if ever this card is in the graveyard and your opponent tries to target 1 ninja monster on your side, you can basically bounce that monster that was targeted and spell summon Kagero to the field, and then letting your effects resolve for that matter. With regards to the number of copies for this, I do prefer going for 2 copies, but just on 1 copy is a really good ratio for the deck. It's easy enough to summon to the field as long as you have the duplication. So that is Kagero for you guys. Let's go towards our next card. Alright, so for our next card, we have Baku the Beast Ninja. I have some mixed feelings with Baku here. So if ever this card is added to the hand, typically you can just spell summon this card to the field and trigger its effect. So its effect states you can target 1 ninja or ninjutsu art from your graveyard or face up on your spell and trap card zone, and then return it to your hand. So it's a really good recycle as well, as long as you add this card to your hand. It would be like a dead card if ever you draw into this during your starting hand, so that would be somewhat irrelevant in a sense. But yeah, if ever you want to return back or bounce back a card, just add Baku to your hand and typically it will trigger its effect once special summon. Now with regards to the number of copies of this, I do prefer going with 1 copy. Some people are not even using a copy of Baku, but this might be somewhat of a really good tech card in a sense, even though this is a ninja monster. So that is Baku for you guys. Let's move towards our next card. So for our next card, we'll have Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, which is a really important card for our deck. So typically you want to run 3 copies of this max, and don't cut a copy of this because this is the best searchers that you'll get for a ninjutsu art Also, if this card is flipped face up or spell summon, you can add one ninja monster from your deck to your hand. The problem with this monster is this needs to be like on Chain Link 1 for it to resolve. If this is Chain Link 2, typically you'll miss the timing for Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo. So priority targets for this is the Ninjutsu Art of Duplication, the Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves, the Ninjutsu Art Notebook of Missing Mystery, the Hidden Village of Ninjutsu Arts, and the Iron Digger as our last card as well. So those are the priorities for Hanzo, and with that, let's move towards our next card. And then we have a copy of Green Ninja. So if ever a monster is spell summoned to your side of the field, you can spell summon this card by targeting that monster and flipping that monster face down. Another good card or effect for this, if ever this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field and change it to face up attack position or change that one to face down defense position. Usually this is a really good target for Dancing Leaves later along the line. So with regards to the number of copies for this, I would advise go for 1 to 2 copies. 1 would be somewhat okay, but going for 2 copies for this would be somewhat better. But in some cases, I do prefer going with 1 copy for this just to have a perfect ratio for the deck, because basically you'll need more like hand traps in your deck as well. So just go with 1 copy of Green Ninja. So that is Green Ninja. Let's move towards our next card. Alright guys, so here we are with the extra deck monsters. So we basically need 2 copies of Ninja Grandmaster Saizo. The Saizo is a really good card as well. It's kind of like Hanzo in a sense. It's not a trigger effect, but instead you can activate it during your turn. So you can set 1 ninjutsu art, spell, or trap directly from your deck. Secondary effect is this card cannot be targeted for effects as long as you point those arrows to a monster. You can use this one to link climb into more good cards for that matter. I think going into the Boral Sword would be somewhat of a better choice, or even a Nightmare Unicorn if you're trying to remove some cards on your opponent's side of the field. So I think that's basically it. That is Ninja Grandmaster Saizo. Let's move towards our 2 remaining cards, which are the Fusion Monsters. So our first Fusion Monster will have Yaguramaru, the Armor Ninja. So once this card is spell summoned or flip face up on the field, you can banish 1 other ninja monster or ninjutsu art from your graveyard and target 1 card on the field, banish it. So typically a removal from any problematic cards on your opponent's side. If ever you're trying to clear out some boards during that turn, with the help of Maizen, will dish out a ton of damage to your opponent's life points. Now with regards to the number of copies, I do prefer going for 3 copies for this, because basically you keep on summoning monsters to the field. So might as well go for 3 copies of this just to banish out a ton of monsters to your opponent's banish pile. You always spam this one to the board if ever you have your turn. So that is Yaguramaru. Let's move towards our final card, which is the main core piece for the ninja archetype. Alright, so here we are with our last fusion monster, which is Maizen the Battle Ninja. So this monster, you can contact use this one as long as it meets the criteria of 2 ninja monsters on the field. So this monster has 3 effects. First and foremost, while you control face down defense position monster, your opponent cannot target this card for attack, so insanely good. Second effect is when your opponent activates a card effect, you can spell summon 1 ninja monster from your deck to your side of the field, either face up attack position or face down defense position. You can spell summon YugiOh to the field, thus triggering the effect of YugiOh, flipping those face down. Another core card that you'll basically need or to summon to the field other than YugiOh is a copy of Mitsu, having to disrupt your opponent if ever they try to use a monster effect. The last and final effect for this is typically all of your ninja monsters can attack directly. The best part about this is the Iron Digger, once equipped to a monster, it can instantly be converted into a ninja, like a Boral Sword. And Nexus Code Talker can instantly direct damage your opponent as long as you have Maizen on the field. So that is Maizen, and with regards to the number of copies, it differs from 1 to 3 copies. It really depends on you on how to make the extra deck. For the sake of some of the ninja builds, just go for 2 or 3 copies. So that is Maizen, guys. Let's move towards our ninjutsu arts and trap cards, which are the spell and traps. Alright, so our first spell card that we're going to talk about is Tenchi Kaimi. So this card is basically a ninjutsu art. So when a ninja monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, you can target 1 card that your opponent controls and then pop it. So every time your ninja monster inflicts battle damage, you pop 1 card on the field. So with Maizen on the field with a ton of ninja monsters on your side and they inflict battle damage to your opponent's life points, you can basically like pop 5 cards on the field. If ever this card is removed from the field because of your opponent's effect, you can target any number of ninja monsters in your graveyard and special summon them to the field face down defense position. Basically, you need 1 copy for this because it's easy enough to search with the help of your Hanzo. And of course, this would really pair well with the ultimate great insect, will allow you to nuke your opponent's board. So that is Tenchi Kaimi. Let's go towards our second field spell. Alright, so for our second field spell, we have our Hidden Village of the Ninjutsu Art. So this is what we talked about earlier. So this is a priority than a copy of Iron Digger, and for that matter, it is really insane for this effect. So if a ninja monster is summoned to your side of the field, you can target one ninja or ninjutsu art card from your graveyard and add it to the card. So a really good recycle as well. The secondary effect, also if a ninja monster or a ninjutsu art is or would be destroyed by a card effect, you can just banish one ninja monster from your graveyard instead. So a really good protection as well for any Lightning Storm or Regekis or Harpies for the Duster for that matter. So that is Hidden Village for you guys, and on one copy, field spells are not really that important for the deck, but it is an optional card that you can go into if ever you're trying to get more advantage or just basically win more for that turn. So that is Hidden Village, guys, on one copy. Let's go towards our next card. Alright guys, so for our next spell card, we have Ninjutsu Art Tool Iron Digger. So once this card is equipped to a monster, that monster will be a ninja. Once this card is face up on the field, you can banish one ninja monster from your graveyard and target one card on the field and just pop it. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished ninja monsters and add it to your hand or special summon it in face down defense position. So this is only a one-off for your deck, and you don't really need like 2 or more copies for this in the deck, because you can basically search this one out with the help of Hanzo. Second of all, you only need one Iron Digger. You can retrieve Iron Digger with the help of Baku as well if ever this is in the graveyard. It floats. Basically, if this card is in the graveyard, you can target one of your banished ninja monsters and just spell summon it to the field. So first and foremost, what this card can do if attached to Mitsu is you can tribute that Mitsu to contact fuse your ultimate great insect to the field. And if ever this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished ninja monster and special summon it to your side of the field face down. You can target your opponent's monster and they will become a ninja monster. Sacrifice that monster because that's already a ninja with the help of your dancing leaves so that you can spell summon a ninja monster from your deck to the field. So that is basically your Iron Digger for you guys. Let's move towards our next card. Alright, so for our next card, we have Ninjutsu Art Notebook of Mystery. This is one of your recovery cards if ever your opponent just board wipe you. As long as you met the criteria of your opponent controls a card, you can set up to one ninja monster or one ninjutsu art from your deck or graveyard to your side of the field. So you can either just spell summon a ninja monster from your graveyard or spell summon a ninja monster from your deck, or get a hold or set a copy of one ninjutsu art from your graveyard or one ninjutsu art from your deck, as long as it's one from each of the locations. Your best targets for this is Dancing Leaves or a copy of Duplication. And then for your monsters, you'll basically need a copy of YugiOh or a copy of Green Ninja for that matter. Other than that, it's basically up to you. Also, if this set card is on the field and sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster on the field, change it to face down defense position. So a really good card effect as well. So yeah, that's Ninjutsu Art of Notebook. You basically need 3 copies of this in your deck. You don't cut this one out. This is one of your recovery cards as well to gain you more advantage during a turn after a board wipe. Let's go towards our next card. Alright guys, so here we are with the trap cards finally. So our first best trap card for the ninja deck is the Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves. Now this card is really insane and this needs to be on 3 copies for your deck as well. If ever you'll search this one with a copy of Hanzo, basically you're winning most of your games. So activate this card by targeting one ninja monster or one face down defense position monster on the field. So it doesn't really matter if it's on your side of the field as long as it's a ninja or a face down defense position monster, which typically, if ever you activate a copy of YugiOh or a Book of Moon on your opponent's monster and they are on face down defense position, you can use the effect of Dancing Leaves, tribute that face down defense position monster, and spell summon one ninja monster from your deck to the field. So insanely good as well. Another good combo for this is using the Iron Digger into your opponent's monster, tributing that monster because it's already a ninja, and then spell summoning a ninja from your deck to the field. Another good effect for this is you can target one ninjutsu art continuous spell or trap in your spell and trap card zone and bounce that card to your hand. So if ever you activated the ninjutsu art already, you can just bounce this card or a copy of Duplication on the field to your hand and then activate it during your opponent's turn. So that is Ninjutsu Art on 3 copies. 3 copies. Don't cut this one off. Let's go towards our next trap card. Alright, so for our next trap card, we have Ninjutsu Art of Duplication. You can tribute one ninja monster, spell summon any number of ninja monsters from your deck, face up attack position or face down defense position depending on the level. So if ever you tribute a copy of Hanzo, which is a level 4, you can spell summon 2 level 1s or 1 level 2 or 2 level 2s for that matter. That is Ninjutsu Art of Duplication, easy enough to use, can bounce this card with the help of Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves. With regards to the number of copies, you basically need 1 to 2 copies for this. I advise go for 2 copies of this, having this to be a really good trap card as well alongside the Dancing Leaves. So that is Ninjutsu Art of Duplication. Let's move towards our next card. Alright, so for our next trap card, we'll be talking about Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation. Now, you need to target 1 ninja monster you control and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and send them to the graveyard. And then you can spell summon 1 dragon or dinosaur or sea serpent monster from your deck whose level is less than or equal to the combined levels of that sent monster to the grave. So some good targets for this is your Amorphage Goliath or Sloth or a copy of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. So those are really good targets as well that can be really beneficial for you. But having to have a brick on your deck with the Sloth or the Goliath is not really that fun. But I think Pankratops is much more better rather than a copy of brick cards like the Goliath or Sloth. But anywho, that is the Ninjutsu Art of Super Transformation. Having this on 1 copy basically, majority of the time people are just using this for side decking. So that is Super Transformation. Let's go towards our next card. Alright guys, so for our next trap card, we have Ninjutsu Art of Mirage Transformation. So tribute 1 ninja monster, then target 1 of your monsters in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your side of the field. It is also treated as a ninja monster while this card is face up on the field. So this is a really good card as well if ever you're going up against tier elements or brandeds, having to disjoint the effect of branded in red, or even when they are trying to fuse a monster from the graveyard. This is basically a one-off, just like the copy of Super Transformation, since majority of the time you don't really run into those type of decks. So that is Ninjutsu Art of Mirage Transformation. Let's move towards our next card. Alright guys, so those were the ninja cards that we talked about it. So monsters, spell and traps, and some extra deck monsters. Now we'll be talking about some tech cards for the deck. So start off with our Pot of Prosperity. We'll hopefully get you a copy of Hanzo for that matter. Hanzo is your main priority in getting most of your plays as well. But yeah, the purpose of Prosperity is to gain more consistency in getting a copy of Hanzo to your hand and to gain you more access to your Ninjutsu Art cards. Other good card for this or tech cards for this in searching out Hanzo is basically a copy of Reinforcement of the Army. So you basically have like Reinforcement of the Army to gain a copy of Hanzo and a Prosperity to gain you more access to hopefully Hanzo out of all the Excavate. So those are the 2 spell cards that will be really good. Let's move towards the hand traps. So for hand traps, you basically need to run 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Maxi, and 3 copies of Imperm for that matter. Of course, with the current meta, you basically need a copy of Nibiru and a copy of Duel and Luck for your other hand traps. So those are the important hand traps. Let's continue on with our tech cards. So our first tech card that we'll be talking about is Kashtira Fenrir. So having the effect to banish cards, especially when you equip Fenrir with a copy of Iron Digger, it can just attack your opponent's life points directly and also prompt the effect of banishing 1 card face up on the field. So another good tech card for this is Gamma Seal, because who wouldn't, with the current meta nowadays, with a ton of boss monsters on 1 copy, just basically removing them with a copy of Kaijus is quite necessary. Another good tech card for your deck is a copy of Book of Moon. Like I talked about earlier, Book of Moon is gonna be like relevant in most of your combos because this is basically a flip based deck, and most of the time you can flip your opponent's cards face down and sacrifice them for a Dancing Leaves. So insanely good if you're running 3 copies of this, and I do prefer just going for 2 or 3 copies of Book of Moon in your deck, depending on your build as well. So some good tech cards are also Floodgates. So first Floodgate that we're going to talk about is there can be only 1. So having to control 1 monster of each type would be somewhat bad for us, but majority of the ninja monsters other than warriors are insects and beasts, so that might be really good for the deck as well. But like I said, this can be only situational and a tech card at best. So another good Floodgate for the deck as well is Grave of the Super Ancient Organisms. So level 6 or higher special summoned monsters on the field cannot declare attacks, nor can player activate their effects. So this is a really good counter against Kashtiras or Brandeds for that matter. The only problem for this is Link monsters are not going to be affected. Also, there's a problem with purelies, which are really prominent in the current meta nowadays. So I'm not sure if going into this would be somewhat beneficial. So that's basically Grave the Super Ancient Organism. So our final Floodgate card, we have also Summon Limit. So since we are just summoning 1 to 2 monsters per turn, typically with the help of our Dancing Leaves or a copy of our Duplication, so it's easy enough to actually attain. So that's Summon Limit and our final Floodgate card. Let's move towards the next topic. Alright guys, so here we are with our extra deck options and some other tech cards that you can use for your extra deck. So there's quite a lot. So hopefully this would sum up most of the cards that you're looking for the deck. And hopefully this would be much helpful. So first and foremost, we have Ultimate Great Insect. So if you equip the Iron Digger into a copy of Mitsu, that would meet the criteria of 1 insect monster with 2000 or more defense with an equipped card. Contact fuse that monster and basically you'll have a 3k attacking monster with 2600 defense. So I thought it was 2500, but it's 2600. During the battle phase, if there is a field spell activated already, you can just pop all of your opponent's monster on the board. So that is Great Insect. Our second tech card is Gigantic Sprite. You need some level 2s on the field, you can just use the effect of Gigantic Sprite to summon your level 2s. And then the next card that was recently added into the game is the number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito, which was insanely good with the Sprite archetype as well. So detach 1 material from this card, and if you do, place 1 hallucination counter on 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and then inflict damage to your opponent's monster equal to the attack of that monster with an hallucination counter. So this card cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no damage from battles involving this card, so that's insanely good. So that is Ninja Shadow Mosquito. Our next card is number 41 Baguska. So there are some cases where you'll have basically a bad starting hand. So having a number 41 Baguska on the field will allow you to stall some more time to gain more access to good cards for that matter. So that's number 41. Our next card will be Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. And this is practically straightforward. After you attack with a ranked monster, you can go for Zeus and then wipe your opponent's board afterwards. The next one we'll have is the Charmers. This is not typically just one Charmer, but there are a ton of attribute Charmers that you'll need for the deck, because ninjas are not just wind monsters. Some of them are fire and some of them are earth. So Charmers are a really good choice for the deck as well. You can use the Charmers and then link climb into the Access Code Talker or a copy of Unicorn later along the line. And then we have IP Masquerena. During your opponent's turn, you can go for Nightmare Unicorn for that matter. Another good choice as well. Cross Shape, on the other hand, you can go for Spell Summoning a Fusion monster, Spell Summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. Really good choice. Also, if you summon an Exi monster, all monsters your opponent controls loses 700 attack, so insanely good as well for a Link 2 monster. Then you have Sprite Elf, of course, Spell Summoning some level 2s from your graveyard to your side of the field. Also, some protections if ever they are targeted for effects. Nightmare Unicorn, of course, bouncing back or spinning back cards from the field to the deck. Boral Sword Dragon. Now this is quite interesting though. This with either a copy of Access Code Talker equipped with the Iron Digger will allow you to OTK your opponent as well. So insanely good. Oh, of course, as long as you have Maizen onto the field, you can directly attack your opponent's life points just by these two cards alone. That's Boral Sword Dragon and Access Code. 1 Magnet Crusadia as well after you use the effect of Masquerena. Appaloosa, of course, for monster negates, and lastly for Zelantis to banish all monsters on the field. And then we have our Blade Ninja, of course, for dealing out a ton of damage. To detach 1 Exi material from this card, target 1 ninja monster, and that monster can make a second attack during that battle phase. So insanely good as well for a Blade Armor Ninja. Next one we'll have also Downward Magician, of course, from your rank 2s for either a copy of Gigantic Sprites. You can go for Downward Magician and then you can go for your Zeus later along the line. Then you have your Akashic Magician. This card can actually return monsters from the cards that it points to. So you can spin back important cards that your opponent has. That, of course, it needs to be aligned on the extra monster zone. And then lastly, we have Donner Dagger of Thorhar as our final tech card for our extra deck. So basically, you can pop 1 card on the field. So that's basically straightforward, and that is our last tech card that you'll need. But anyways, that is all that we have for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this guide, and hopefully this would help you build a ninja deck for that matter. If ever I missed anything, please tell me down in the comment section below. And that's me signing off. Keep safe, good luck, and hope you like this kind of content. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!